Let's talk about your movie. A baseball film, one would say. Obviously, it's more than just about baseball, but baseball's at the heart of it. Bottom of the Ninth, where you play a kid from the Bronx who comes out of prison and tries to get back into baseball and tries to get back into life in that way through baseball. So,
he gets out of prison. So it's a 19-year-old kid who grew up in the shadow of Yankee Stadium. And he was an incredible baseball player and then gets drafted by the Yankees. So the pride of all the Bronx. And he's out one night with his buddies from the neighborhood, and they get into a fight. And he hits one of the other kids, and that kid falls backward and smacks his head on the curb and dies. And he gets 9 years in prison and then gets time tacked on, basically gets his sentence doubled for violence in prison, which is basically like just keeping himself alive.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets out in his late 30s and returns to the Bronx and missed his mother's funeral, missed the Yankees, just missed his life. And he's just trying to put his life back together and winds up getting offered a job by an old minor league coach to help coach this minor league team. And so he leaves his crummy job at the fish market and winds up going and gets back into baseball. And in the middle of a pitching duel with a beardless Brian Wilson.
I love it.
The coaches and players see that he's still got him. And yeah, Cashman and Bernie show up and they notice this old guy who can still hit the ball, and he winds up getting a second shot at baseball through this minor league team, and then winds up bumping into the girl whose heart he broke at 19 when he went into prison, that is played by my wife.
What was that like, being in a movie with your wife?
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best. I mean, we both been doing this a long time. We're pros, so it was just fun on that level. And then also, when you're away and you shoot on location, you miss your family, you miss your wife, and having her there, there's just nothing to miss. My whole life was right there, so I didn't feel bad about working long hours, and I never felt distracted. So that's great. I am the producer, so I had to make sure that she was in the car on time. So that's on me. But I do what all husbands do. You just tell your wife it's half an hour earlier.
Oh, I love it.
Get her in the car. That's it.
Well, I mean, you got to know your talent. You've got to know your talent as a producer.
That's right.
You have to know your actors.
You treat your players differently.
That's
right. Good coaches know.
So let's talk a little bit more about this cast here as well. Burt Young.
Young, Uncle Paulie.
From Rocky.
Yep.
That was great.
Yeah, he has a little cameo on the baseball minor league team. He's like our equipment guy who's still there.
Yes. And there's a lot of fans of The Sopranos who can notice a couple of the actors.
Vinny Pastore is great in the film, and Michael Rispoli, also from The Deuce, running on HBO right now, plays the coach, my coach from years ago, who's fantastic.
Right, he's in Billions too. He had a little bit of spot in Billions also.
He's great.
Yes.
Dennis O'Hare, my buddy from True Blood.
That guy is
two-time Tony winner.
As great as they get.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he's been my friend since True Blood, and we stayed close, and always wanted to use him in something that I was producing, and he was gracious enough to lend his talents and come in and play my parole officer.
Right.
He's great. My wife, of course, Brian Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, so how obviously he hasn't been in baseball for a few years, but I mean, how did you get hooked up with him?
Well,
Joe?
You actually know because you were there. I directed a staged reading of Major League years ago for the LACMA series. And if you can pull up a picture maybe online somewhere. Oh, you have that handy? Oh, man, look at
Here's
that.
the poster. It's a movie, the poster of where you did the live read of Major League.
Yep. So I directed part of Jason Reitman and Elvis Mitchell have this LACMA series where they, you get to recast and do a live stage reading of any screenplay. I said I want to do Major League. And I had seen Brian Wilson on, there's the alt poster, the Roland Berry alt poster.
Yep.
I had seen Brian Wilson on the George Lopez show.
Okay.
He did an appearance on George Lopez where he was wearing a pea coat, and he looked like, you remember Fisherman's Friends that get rid of your cough? There's like that little Hemingway guy with like the pipe and like his little seaman's hat. There's Brian Wilson in the middle who played Ricky Vaughn.
Yeah, and he showed up in the full number 99 Indians jersey. That was that. So that's where you...
I called him. I said, hey, man, I'm a huge fan of you. He was on George Lopez, and he's a genius. Like, I just spotted. I'm like, this guy has it. He's brilliant. Like
Right.
this talk show appearance is one of the most brilliant pieces of comedy I'd ever seen. I'm like, I'm going to put this guy in something. So when we were doing Major League, I got his number from Eric Stone Street,
Yep.
who was like a golfing buddy of his, I found out.
Stone Street knows everybody.
And I was like,
From
I
your
want,
wife to Brian Wilson.
yeah. And I was like, I need you to come and play Ricky Vaughn. And he was like, okay. And then we started having these like in-depth acting conversations. Like Brian is a trip. And then I said, hey man, I have this movie that I'm producing. When I get the financing for it, we get up and going, I'm going to give you a call and I want you to come and play this adversarial former Cy Young winner who's rehabbing in the minor leagues that I have this battle with. And he came in and was just amazing. He helped me rewrite the ending. Like, I mean, he was such a great resource.
No kidding.
Yeah, he was like, I was like, what's the gnarliest pitcher batter battle that we could have play out? And he said, you know what you should do? The Butcher Boy. I was like, the Butcher Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, it's this old legend about, well, I'm not going to give away the ending. I'm not
Okay.
going to give it away, but there's a crazy move called the Butcher Boy.
Right. And
that's our
Brian
ending.
Wilson's the one who came up with it.
Yeah, he was
right.
like, he pitched it to me and he was so good on the set. He's so good in this movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.